We should be live. Yes, we're live. Hey everybody, welcome
Yeah,
back to
we should
another
be.
ecstatic edition of the best darn show on the internet, the Over Sharon Show. We're both
Indeed.
standing today. We're bringing you
The
this podcast.
standing back.
It's standard because we're both standing. Oh,
Ooh.
hang on though. Before we begin, I can't. I got to turn on the. It wouldn't be a pyramid scheme
Oh, there you go.
without a pyramid.
There you go.
Yeah,
There's our pyramid. There's
there
our
it is.
pyramid
Oh, I could
scheme.
do this too to make it a little. There we go. It's not too sunny today anyway, so. Hello,
Indeed.
everybody. Welcome
Hey,
to our
hey.
show. We're excited today. We're going to just be doing kind of a free form flow.
Indeed.
Maybe talk about some things that are coming up in the future and all that fun stuff. But before we go too far, I'm going to read today's quote, which Sharon sent me. This is a great. This quote, it really had me thinking. I'm sure you probably the same way, right? Like I had to think about it for a while, and I think it's
I
because
did.
of words, but we'll get obviously get into that. To the wise, life is a problem. To the fool, a solution. Marcus Aurelius.
That guy's a good
Source of quotes, right? Jeez.
yes, but what was I gonna say? What
He's
was he?
a Greek Stoic. He was in around,
Stoic. Thank you. He
yeah,
was a good Stoic
yeah.
philosopher. And his book, Meditations, is really good. Have I listened to it? Did I finish it? I think I finished that audiobook. Yeah, I think I did.
I think I've
um,
checked it out, but I've seen quotes and heard people
I
talk about
listened to actually I listened to a very modern version of it, kind of a newer one, and I liked it. It was like Marcus Aurelius Meditations for 2023 and beyond or something like that because it was like more modern and I think it probably consolidated a lot of stuff because I heard that meditations is a little bit repetitive in some spots,
like the
but
Tao, probably, right?
hmm?
Like the Tao,
Probably.
like the Tao.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I mean, that would be a good one to break down at some point too. But yeah,
So
I'm all excited to get into a new series, even though we're not done with the Dow yet. But um, yeah.
awesome. Yeah, Marcus Aurelius. So the quote.
Sorry, yeah, the quote. Go on.
No, no, don't be sorry. I'm just gonna bring it up while we talk about it. We might as
Yeah,
well.
please.
Okay, all right. So, I really think this was I meditated it. I pondered on it for a while, and what I came up with was it's just that, and it really blew my mind because this word problem, if you think about if somebody says to you, I have a problem, you're automatically it's a negative thing, right? Like, oh no. But the way I think in that commentary you sent was beautiful, Sharon, and it's the word problem doesn't mean that anything's wrong. It's just it's like a question or it's something to be worked out, like it's like a math problem, right? Like, so, oh, we have a problem, and
Like
that's
a challenge,
a
right?
challenge. Yeah, and that's why I hate when people,
Let's work out this challenge.
yeah, or and I was thinking of this, what we always hear, like problem child, remember that? I think they even made a movie called
Yeah.
Problem Child, and it's like, well, all children are a problem in the fact that it's like an equation that you have to solve,
Ooh, I
it's
like
not.
that equation. That's a good way to, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
life is an
to the
equation.
wise, life is an equation. That sounds like a better, because I mean, the problem makes us think about it, though, right?
Yes, yes, you're right. Problem makes us think about it. But I think back when they, when you use the word problem, people probably weren't, because like I said, net problem has this negative connotation to it, but the word problem just means equation, right? So it's like to the wise people, problem life is an equation. It's just
Right.
something to be solved or to be kind of figured. Go ahead.
And the thing is, Marcus Aurelius wrote in a different language, right?
Yes.
So what did he write in Greek or
He
Latin
was
or
Greek, so probably Greek. Who
yeah, yeah,
knows?
good call, Greek.
The
Marcus
language we're not told about? No, I don't know. you know.
probably made up just like everything else.
Well, that's the thing where it could is it Greek or is it Phoenician?
Roman. He was Roman, sorry.
Oh, he was Roman. Did somebody
That's what
say
Joe
that?
said.
Oh, thanks, Joe. What's
Yeah.
up?
He was a Roman soldier. And I'm just kidding. He was a Roman.
Oh, he was romantic. What's up?
Yeah.
What's up, Spoons? Great show, guys. I was listening to it the other day while I was driving around.
Yeah, good show.
Shout out to them. Check out their show. Everybody will put a
Yeah.
link. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, their new show, Where the Mind Wanders, I believe is what it's called. He was
Oh,
an
he was an
emperor
emperor.
slash statesman. Yeah, he was. Like I know, but I forgot he was
Sharon's like,
Roman.
I knew, and I'm like, yeah, I didn't. That's all
Well,
right.
Cody told me about him sometime around maybe 2021 or 22 when we were like friends getting to know each other and stuff. I think he told me about Marcus Aurelius. And I at the time I think I listened to a lecture that this guy was talking about him and I was like, wow, this guy was really cool. Like for an emperor to be so wise, like he was basically a Tao emperor. He was what the Tao says a master leader should be, basically.
Wow. That's
Yeah. If you haven't read Meditations or listened to any of that, it's really good. Welcome, Michal.
hey, Mihal. Happy New Year to you as well.
Yes, Joe said basically the Tao Emperor. Yeah, he basically embodies like what the Tao talks about. It's crazy.
That is crazy. I probably knew that and just had forgotten but what I remembered or knew about him was that he was into Stoicism. I thought he was a Greek philosopher now, but yeah, I probably
He was a Stoic. Yeah. Well, he was a philosopher too, but yeah.
that's very interesting though to have so I an emperor that actually embodies the principles of the Tao and stuff. I mean,
Right. It's unheard of. It's like when you hear him like when you hear the stuff he wrote, you're just like, who is this guy?
well, it always seems that, it's funny because I've been listening again to Dune because I'm working on a project. It's a top
I'm gonna
secret
start
project,
at some
everybody.
point. I'm gonna start doing the whole. I'm gonna see what I can get, how much I can get through. But
This is what I'll tell you, right? Dune versus Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time is more like cheerful. Dune, you got to like check yourself after you listen to it for a while because it's so heavy. I guess I could
I'm
say.
sure.
And Wheel of Time I like because it's a similar kind of story. Well, I don't know, it's hard to say, but it's another great adventure fantasy, whatever. But it's a lot lighter. Like there are heavy parts, but there's more comic relief and more lightness. There is some comic relief in Dune, and it is pretty good, but it's not as bad as like the Silmarillion. Some of the Silmarillion of J.R.R. Tolkien, you read it and you're just like, I remember I had to stop listening to it for a while. I'm like, this is crazy because it's so depressing.
I can't. Haven't. I mean, not that I can't, but I haven't started. And when I first started, I was just like, I can't understand this. Like, I really have to slow down.
Oh yeah, it's the beginning's nice because it's like the creation of the world and stuff, but once they get into like the elves and it's just all like they're all just killing each other and all this crazy
Oh my
stuff's going on
gosh.
and the evil, but it's cool because you get to see how evil or whatever and good interact and stuff. But the reason I brought all this up was because this was basically to say that Dune. This reminds me of Dune of Marcus Aurelius because Paul Muad'Dib was this emperor to save the people at first, and he was like really, you could say, even try to start off like Taoist, right? But it didn't last that long, and it went downhill. And if you think, I was thinking of this in regards to like or in reference to the founding of this country of the United States. Same thing. Like we're told all these presidents were like great people in the beginning, and they were all like heroes and all about freedom. So I wonder how much is truth and how much is just like mythologized, especially about like Marcus Aurelius too. If it's the same thing, if it was just written about him that oh yeah, he was a great Taoist leader, like who wrote the history. But the fact that it comes down to us and we get it, that's great. Like I mean, but yeah, really, the reason I said all that is because it seems that a lot of countries or whatever they start off really good. It's like it starts great and everyone's having a great time, and then something happens, and then we're all slaves. I don't know, like
Well, the thing is, if you read what he we both have green cups. Oh, yours is like a like an aqua, mine's more like a mint. That is
Oh,
hilarious. Oh,
cheers.
yours is Yeti, mine's
Yeah.
Hydro Flask. Not that
Nice.
it matters, but that's why the
Yeah, this
colors are
is
so weird.
Elizabeth's. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeti cups are nice. I wanted a Yeti, but they're like freaking expensive. So I was like, I'll pay like a little bit less for Hydro Flask.
Yeah, this was Elizabeth's, and I have one that's a gift. All the ones I've ever gotten, I think, are gifts
They're nice. They're very
because
nice
they are,
cups.
yeah, they're expensive. So
Yeah.
it's to get it as a gift.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
they're gonna do that job. That's
if
my
you
brother.
read, if you listen to the stuff Marcus Aurelius says and the way he talks about stuff, I don't think you can make that up. Like I don't, it's he really embodies the Tao basically as a ruler. It's really crazy. And maybe we'll do maybe one day we'll do a series on it
Yeah. No, I'm sure he was
or an
a
episode, at least an episode on it.
it's I was just kind of more trying to fit Dune in, I think. No. But that's one of the reasons why I like to, and I probably said this before on the show, to check out books like Dune and Wheel of Time and Lord of the Rings and stuff, because you see how we're told these stories about these leaders and things that happen, and then you listen to these, watch these stories like Dune, and you can see what's really going on, and then you see like what the official story, the rumors are, like the rumor mill and stuff like that. So it's really cool to know that like you're never going to be able to know what the heck is really going on, and even if you think something in the past happened or didn't happen, we'll never really know. So it's more like about just using it as a guide and not getting hooked on all that stuff.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh, about the quote. Um, so you were talking about life is a problem, which in this case we're talking about it as a problem as in an equation, which makes sense, a lot more sense. And to the fool, it is a solution. So what are your thoughts on that part?
Oh, great question. That's another thing that I kind of had to ponder. So
Right.
you could look at it, and then I also kind of want to look at it in the
I'm gonna
reverse.
look at it from both sides, from both angles.
Yeah, I
Don't
want to
worry.
look
Like
at
I
it
was
like
like,
switched around, where like the wise one
yeah,
is the bad one and the fool is the
yeah.
good.
I
Okay.
was gonna do that too.
All right. I should have known. What am I thinking? So
You're fine.
I would say what he means kind of by this, that the world is a solution. It could mean like the world is the answer. And I read that breakdown that you sent to, and that helped form my opinion. And what he was saying in there is that Stoics, such as Marcus Aurelius, they take the world as it comes. They're not trying to
Change it, fix
change
it.
it, wish it was a different way. They take the world the way it is, and it's like a challenge to them, right? And then the thing that you say, the solution or the answer to the fool, the world is the solution or the answer. It's kind of like the fool just um doesn't know, like,
Problem is solved, so they don't have to worry about anything. It's like the new
yeah,
age, fake new age
the way
concept.
it is, the way it, yeah, it basically the
Like
way it is.
everything's beautiful and perfect, love and light, everyone.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? It's already done.
and if even not, like, say somebody's a fool, but they're like a negative, like they're a pessimist, and they think the world is like terrible. They think the world is just thing.
Terrible, and it's always going to be terrible, and that makes it horrible. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, no worries. No, to them the world, yeah, you're right though. They have that negative view of everything. It's terrible and everything, but it's more of an answer to like that's just how it is. You can't change it. I guess I don't. It's hard to exactly put it
Yeah.
into words.
I think what he was saying when the fool to the fool it's a solution. Maybe this is one way of looking at it is that to the fool it's already done. What can you do about it? Doomsday, complete doomsday approach. It's like, well, what can you do? It is what it is, but in like a negative type of bent. So, but we could look at it the other way around too.
Yeah, and one thing I can add to that too is that they just take the answer that they're given. They just accept it. It's kind of like someone who goes to church and they just say, "This is
Oh,
how it is."
like they're just indoctrinated.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're just like, okay, that's it. The answer is the solution. The answer is life. The answer is the world. The answer you give me or that I.
Yeah.
Whereas the wise person sees that and is like, no, that's not the answer. That's the equation. That's the problem. Like, how can it
Yeah.
make sense to me? Yeah.
Yeah, and then you look at it like how do you solve the equation? And you have to ask questions, kind of like the Socratic method, right? Of like asking questions to see if you're on the right path and if your answer or your thought process is making any sense and it's leading you in the direction of, truth or whatnot. Discovering uh all that is a challenge. Quote, problem, equation.
Yeah. I think I've heard it another way, like life is a problem to be solved. Like some people look at life as a problem to be solved or something like that. I
Yeah.
think that's different. Anyway, you want to
Yeah.
look the other way?
Well, I mean, I think you could just say, like, okay, so let's just say if we look at it as if life is a problem, and you could look at that with a negative bent, you could just be like, everything's wrong, there's nothing right, everything's going, we're never going to get out of this, people are evil in the world, and so
Yeah.
you could
So,
look. Go ahead.
like the so-called wise man to somebody who thinks he's a wise man, right?
Mm-hmm.
People who think
Right.
they're wise, they think they know. You're right. The world to them is a problem. Into a fool, like the fool card.
And the
Somebody,
fool card,
yeah, exactly.
dude.
The fool card.
I have something to say about that in a second. So to the fool, it is done. It's like it is what it is. Like the Tao says, you can't change it. You can't fix the world. It
You
is
just
what it
accept
is.
it, basically.
Yeah. So you can, it's like yes and no. You can look at this both ways.
That's why words, and we stress this so much that when you hear somebody using words, you have to make sure that you know what those they mean by those words, especially if you're going to get offended or whatever. I
Right.
like,
And go ahead.
no, you go because
I
I
was
got
going to say, I love that Marcus Aurelius did this because you're like, wait, where, how is he looking at this? Is he saying the quote wise and
yeah.
the quote fool, right? Because I love that fool card concept, right? Um, if you guys haven't, and I need to finish it too, but I need to just quickly look at my YouTube history to see what the name of this. Okay, so symbolic studies, our friend Mario Garza, who we had on episode, I think it was episode 66,
Oh yeah.
if I remember correctly. But don't quote me. He did an episode of his own podcast called The Rising Sun, Esoteric Solar Symbolism. I'm only like one third of the way into it, but it is phenomenal. He talks about, and he doesn't even mean to like go into the symbolism of the Fool card because he's like, I really wanted to make this brief, but then he's like, okay, so he starts talking about it. Dude, it'll blow your mind. The way he sees the Fool, and so I'll just give it to you because I don't know who or when anybody's going to watch it, but when he talks about the Fool, he's like, I realize that in this symbolism, he's actually coming down the mountain from enlightenment, from
Yeah.
Mount Meru, the mountain at the center,
Uh,
right? It's, and then he talks about, the sun, the ray of the sun, the little stick, the pole, and it's pointing at the ray of the seventh ray of the
uh,
sun. It like it's just crazy. Like you're gonna be like, holy smokes. Um, but he's basically saying he is the enlightened one. This fool is the enlightened one. He's coming down from the mountain, having been enlightened. Just like you think of Jesus and the Mount of Transformation. Um, I forgot what it's called, that story. It's something like that. But anyway, there's these concepts in like all these cultures about going up the mountain and the transfiguration, and becoming enlightened. And this depicts the fool actually. he what he says is that he believes that it's now he can see that symbolism in there as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. He is, if you look at it, it looks like he's going down the hill.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Very
Yeah,
interesting. And
indeed.
but Marcus Aurelius, yeah, maybe he was hiding something in there for, people who get it. A
Yeah,
little,
could
yeah.
be esoteric for sure. Um, let's see, do I still okay. I sometimes when I was my new deck, the art golden art nouveau, I had the full card was showing up at the bottom of the deck sometimes when I was shuffling. I can't find it right now. But he did he did I think he did show that did he show that card? Or did he just show the I think he just showed the Rider Waite. But anyway, if I had it in front of me, I would show it. But anyway, any more thoughts on that before I tell you what card I pulled?
Now go ahead. I think we're good there.
All right. Well, I pulled from a new deck that I have. Oh, this is hilarious. This card got left inside. Um, it's called El Tarot Deck Millennial Loteria Edition. I
Oh.
finally got this deck. It's silly. It's like Mexican bingo, basically. So we have, I picked La Moon, the moon.
Oh, it's funny though they don't call it La Luna.
Yeah, because it's the millennial one. So it's in English too. It's like it's Spanglish.
Oh,
It's El Tarot Deck.
that makes sense.
So La Moon, you could see, is blindfolded and wearing lipstick, red lipstick,
Mm.
and a little bit of blush.
An embarrassed moon.
Yeah. Or wearing makeup.
What a great card though, the moon. I mean, it's all
Yeah.
about like, shadow work and what the moon illuminates at night for you.
Yeah. And
Good.
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna
Yeah,
keep.
go, because I forgot what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's really that card is really one of the number one cards I think for like inside, inner, what's going on, working the shadow, like the unseen
Yes.
at night. It's like the light that nights up the night. So anything to do with that stuff, like in your shadow. So people think it's a really good card, but it just depends on what you're going through. It could mean that some negative stuff is coming up, but like we talk about in the show all the time, it's just about like letting go and working with stuff. So it doesn't mean that it has to be a bad experience. And
Yeah.
as far as the show, I could just say that we're into our fourth year now, right? Because it's been 3 years, so we're working on our fourth, and we started it in 2021,
Hmm.
and now it's going to be 2025, or it is 20,
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
2025. So for
It's
us,
gonna be yeah, I know. I was like that today. I was like, wait, it is already 2025. I'm like writing the date. Yeah, it's a new year. It's crazy.
it goes by so fast.
It
So
does.
I think it kind of sets the stage for 2025 with us with the moon. We always look into these esoteric topics, and we're always interested in that kind of stuff. And it's like the whole exercise of work of when you get mad, you try to say, well, how did I make myself mad, right? Like, what did I do in this situation, right? It's kind of like that stuff. So I like that.
Yeah. Hold on. Sorry, I have two keyboards going because one is for one is for my tablet and one is for the computer. So I'm like trying to
Of
figure out which one
course.
I'm
Oh
writing
yeah,
on.
I know that. Yeah, I do that sometimes I have two computers set up when I'm in a meeting, and I'm like, I'm typing on the wrong keyboard right now.
I know, I'm like, dang it, stop doing that. um,
But
I'm
and then
just like writing down Mario's link so I don't forget to put it
yeah, no
in.
problem. I could also say about that card specifically, I really like it because it shows a quarter of the moon. So
And
already,
we're at like we're at the sliver right now. We're like at like day two of a new moon after the new moon.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go look for it later. I love the slivers. They're so cool. It reminds me of a thumbnail coming in. Like
Yeah.
so. Um, you have most of the moon hidden when it's a sliver. So there's more symbolism because somebody might be like, oh, it's just a moon, like in the Rider Waite, you get dogs and a crab and all and towers. Why is it just a moon? Well, you always look for what's not there, and the rest of the moon's not there. So that's a key. And then also the moon's blindfolded.
Hmm.
So it's like symbolism. It's the answer's not outside, right? You have to look within.
Look within. Absolutely. Yeah.
Has his mouth shut, right? Because
Hmm.
if those Minot don't talk, he's just kind of figuring shit out. Because that's the stage, that's one thing. Not that I want to change anything about my journey, but looking back, sometimes you could see sometimes where you feel cringy about your behavior. And one of them is when I kept trying to tell everybody, like, oh, this is the answer, this is it.
Yeah.
You got to do this. You have to. You got to do coffee butter or whatever bar. Like,
Yeah.
you have to check out Buddhism. You have to meditate, all these things. Now I realize that everyone has their own path.
Yes. Yes. Same here. Absolutely. And I still struggle with it sometimes.
Well, we all do.
Yeah. That's why we preach to ourselves, everybody. Here on the Over Sharon show, we preach to the choir and we preach to ourselves. We're gonna have to make a song about that. Just kidding.
We're just singing to the preacher. He
Ah,
preaches to the choir. Yeah,
yep.
hard though.
Um, what was I gonna say about this card? Okay, so it's wearing red lipstick and blush. Okay,
Yeah.
so I don't know if I got a chance to tell you this, but I had this. I think I might have sent you a message on Telegram to tell you about my dream, but I don't know if you got a chance to read it. Um, so some days ago, maybe a week or two ago, I can't remember how long ago it was. I had this dream. It was very, very interesting dream. And the salient part of the dream was I was on this campus or something. I was somewhere and I was looking for a restroom because I had one of my earrings had fallen. And these earrings that Cody got me for my birthday, they they if they're not like, because the clasp is, I'll show you the clasp. So see how there's this little thing right here? And then if you look right there, it's a tiny little thing that needs to fall right into it and like close. And that sometimes, if I'm like moving my hair or something, I'll grab it and it'll fall and I may lose it and I may not find it. And that happened the other day. We went to bowling we took my nephews. Um, actually it was December 12th because it was my sister's anniversary. And she and her husband wanted to, have dinner together and stuff. So we took the boys out.
How long have
They're
they
like
been married?
9 and 11. They've been married 14 years.
Nice.
And the boys are 9 and 11 and they're cute. And we took them out, we took them bowling. But we had stopped at like we went to In and Out. We took them to In and Out Burger, which is like it started off as a California chain. But we took them there and then we went to different places. We were walking around everywhere. So it's like when I did realize that I lost it, we were at April's house dropping the kids off after at the evening. And I was like, we could have lost it anywhere, but we were at the bowling alley the longest. So I'm like, Cody was like, do you really want to go back to the bowling alley? I'm like, yes, let's go back to the bowling alley because we're going to find this. And the thing was, I don't know if you guys remember, but when I had lost my wallet, that I had lost it at a grocery store. Well, I didn't know. I was like, the last place I used it was there. So I'm going to go check there. So but the whole time I was confident that I was going to find it somewhere. I just didn't know where. I wasn't like worried, like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like there was a temptation to be worried, but I was like, no, 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 I'm going to find it. It'll be fine. And of course, I found it. And it was like a miraculous story of somebody turning it in because I left it outside in the cart, like I pushed the cart into the like the little trail, whatever you call that thing, and I just walked back to my car. So it was outside in the carriage, and I'm just like, somebody could have taken it, right?
Oh,
Well,
were you at the store, so it wasn't a bowling alley, or?
no, sorry, I was talking about when I lost my wallet. Sorry, I
Oh,
went
your wallet.
many,
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's
many
right.
times.
Okay.
But
Yeah, I
anyway,
remember.
that was like a miraculous story too, right? So back to the
Like, this sounds
the ear.
familiar. Like, no.
So back to the earring. We go to the bowling alley and I'm trying to call them on the way there and they're not picking up. Finally, somebody picks up and he's like, oh, I don't see anything. Nobody's turned anything in. I was like, okay, that's fine. So I was like, well, we'll go find it. And they closed late anyway, so we were fine. It wasn't a problem. So we went over there. Cody has like a flashlight or like one of those headlamps that have a light on it. And so as soon as we get into the parking lot, we're looking on the floor, on the ground. We keep walking. As we were walking into the building, we're looking everywhere. We had gotten on this like VR machine where you put the like thing over your head and then you like watch what's going on. So like maybe there it could have fallen and there was nothing there. We looked around, it was nothing. So finally we walked over to the bowling alley lane where we were and I was kind of just like I don't see it because we looked everywhere. We were looking around, kind of like cursory glance, but like if it was on the floor, I was like, oh, we would have seen it. It's there. It would have been there. And there weren't a lot of people there. There weren't even people in where we were in our lane. There were people like two lanes down. So it was it wasn't like a busy night or anything. So I was like, yeah, it probably didn't fall here. But Cody kept looking. He was just like looking everywhere. He was looking where the ball return was and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what? I guess I'll do like a little deeper dive. And I like not kneeled down, but like I squatted to like look under the table and everything with just more careful view of things. And there was this like cubby hole underneath where we were sitting at the very bottom. There was just like a cubby hole that was like this big. And like I had put my shoes in there before because my nephew was going to step on them. So I had put my shoes in there. But like when I put my shoes in there, I didn't notice anything. But when like went down there and I looked all the way back, it was there, all the way back against the back wall of that cubby hole. And it was like dusty and dirty. And there was like it doesn't really get cleaned or something. I'm like, how is the earring back there? That is so bizarre. So anyway, it was
Maybe it
like
bounced or
miraculous to
something.
find it. What?
Maybe it bounced, like it hit the
Yeah.
ground and fell in.
Yeah. And then maybe when I pushed my shoes in, it went in. But still, I was like, that's crazy. Like, I'm like,
That's
God or an angel or somebody put it there for me so I could find it. You know what I mean? Because otherwise, somebody would have stepped on it or, you know, somebody would have taken it or whatever. Um,
what are they
so
selling?
anyway, that was like a crazy experience I had. I lost it. Well, I think a day or two later, I had this dream and I was looking for a restroom because my earring had fallen off, but it wasn't this kind of earring. It was like a gold colored or like a bronze colored plastic plastic earring. Um and it had like a weird clasp. I was like, this doesn't like even go through my ear hole. How like I was looking at it like, oh, what how does this even fit on my ear? It's the weird part. But I was looking for a bathroom so I could put my earring back on. I find this bathroom and I'm like, I hear some noises in the stall, but I'm like, okay, whatever.
And this is your dream, right?
This is my dream.
Oh, just me. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I walk in and so I'm walking in, and to the left of me are two stalls. And then to the right of me is the sink. but there's no mirror in front of the sink. The mirror is like on the left wall, like when you have a vanity where you put all your like your medicine cabinet. There was a mirror like to the left of. So if I'm at the sink here, there's a mirror right here. So and it was like high up too. I had to like kind of look up at the mirror. And as I looked up at the mirror, I saw a girl with blonde curly hair, short curly hair, fair skinned, like very fair, and like red lipstick. And I was like, I like went back. I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? Who is that? And I was like, am I a different person? I'm like, did I wake up in a different reality? Like, I'm like, oh my God, I woke up in a different reality. What am I gonna do? This is nuts. This is crazy. Like, how am I going to like if I wake up in the other reality, what like how do I know when I'm in what? And I was just like, I'm two different people in two different like parallel timelines or something. It was so bizarre. But anyway, she was wearing red lipstick, and it made me like this made me think of it because this one's wearing red lipstick. My shadow. And when I told Spoons that, she's like, maybe the person in the mirror represents your shadow. I was like,
Shout out to Spoons. That's a
I know.
great catch. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. And then maybe, especially for you, you're like, wait a minute, this person got lipstick. Like, I don't usually wear lipstick, but it's
I
like,
know, I don't. I was like, hmm. So it's made me the last several days, it's made me like think about, well, maybe I should start wearing something. Maybe I should start wearing some lipstick or whatever. So I
yeah, they,
did buy some different tint. Like I have this lip tint here and I bought a little darker one and a lipstick. We'll
yeah, I was
see.
gonna say they make a lot of like, that's what Elizabeth wears. It's like lip gloss or tint or whatever. Sometimes it's like a natural,
Yeah.
or whatever the hell it means
Burt's
natural
Bees.
these days.
I mean, it's probably fine.
I mean, it's better than, yeah, I know that's why. Yeah, there's always like unless you make it yourself and grew all the things and
Yeah.
you know collected all the rainwater to feed your plant throughout the year. Yeah,
I would
it's
need like beet juice or something to like tint the
yeah, sick beats.
but
Um,
yeah, that reminded me the shadow and the red lipstick. So,
cool. Yeah, I like that shadow. And that's something we could even start talking about for this episode is really like shadow work because yeah, I wrote a book called Shadow Worked, at shadowwork.com. And you think like it's funny because you think that you're done with it. Like, oh yeah, I did the shadow work and I'm fucking great. And that the spiritual ego that we talk about that comes. And I think that there really, I mean, maybe I'm just speaking from my own experience, but I don't really think there is a way to like get rid of your ego and not have your ego unless you want to be somebody like that just people take care of them all day and feed them and all that stuff and you just sit there in like bliss or whatever because it really is how we interact from my point of view it's how we interact with this physical world that we perceive out there and but what we could do though, and I found this especially by going through the Tao we've been doing, check out our Tao episodes, everybody, if you haven't. They're awesome. We're breaking it down. And we only got like what 14 verses left or something like that. We're on 68, so 13 verses. So
yeah, we don't have very many left.
yeah, so not many to go. But anyway, so what I'm starting to see though is that you just kind of accept things come like the quote, right? Things happen and you look at life more, and again we could look at it both ways because we'll flip it around, but you're looking at life more as like an equation or like some kind of a problem, so you can take your problem solving skills and apply it to what's going on in front of you. And really, it's just internal. It's like the moon, it's blindfolded. So you're not trying to do stuff out in the world. It's more about fixing your own worldview. And however that works, whatever meditation or whatever kind of work you do, sound healing or reading or walking in the woods, whatever it is, it's about realizing that you really aren't the center of this universe. You are, but you're not. So things are going to happen that your ego or that you don't agree with. Things are going to happen that the way you don't want them to happen. Like Spoons put it actually in the episode that she was on with us when she was talking about being the story writer. You're writing the story, or you feel like you're the storyteller and you're telling the story, and you're like, tomorrow, I'm going to wake up and we're going to go hiking and all this stuff's going to happen. But then sometimes you wake up and shit happens and you can't do that. So are you going to get mad and be upset that you couldn't go do what you wanted to and you had to handle the things? Or are you going to go, wow, life just gave us a whole new set of circumstances. And maybe if I went hiking, I would have been attacked by a bear or something. So, you know, and I feel like that's really what shadow work right now for me looks like. It's when things happen, I try to fit myself into the situation, right? Instead of being the center of the situation and having everything go exactly the way I want it to, I more try to fit in and be adaptable, right? And I get a lot of that because I was in the Marines and stuff. So it's like a Marine sniper. They wear this ghillie suit. They look like a bush, and they just fit in. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to fit in where I get in. Fit in where you get in. That was the name of a Too Short record. Fit in where you get in. And of course, everyone's going to think it's a sexual thing, especially if you listen to Too Short's lyrics about being a pimp. But it really just means go with the flow, right? If you're a square peg, go into a square hole. Don't try to force yourself into a round hole. And that's one side of it. And
Unless the round hole's big enough to fit the square peg.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And then, of course, we could talk about the flip side, right? So and again, this all has to do with words and how you're looking at it. And this is why you can't just write down the way in a book and give it to somebody because they're going to be like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, something you said made me think of just some things I've been thinking about the last few days. Um, like I think about when, like allegedly, right? We talk about this goal of like enlightenment, right? And at some point, I remember in some episode, I said something like that, like, oh, the goal is enlightenment. And then you're like, you said something to the kind of to the contrary of that. And I was like, how dare you? But then I've had some time to contemplate on that. I'm like, he's right. Like, why, even if the goal is allegedly, right, enlightenment, like the thing that people say is the goal, right, in this life, right? But there are some people in this life who have, like in Buddhism, I think, who are called the bodhisattvas because and I can't remember the meaning. Okay, so bodhi is a form of Buddha, which is like an enlightened person. And
Point
sattva,
Break.
huh?
Remember Point Break?
No, did you, is that a movie?
Did you see the movie Point Break? Yeah,
Mm-mm.
because, oh, Bodhi is a character. Patrick Swayze, I don't want to give it away, kind of plays the bad guy, but you don't know it
There,
right
go
away.
ahead.
But yeah, his name is Bodhi. It's a good movie. About surfing, and Keanu Reeves is in it also, and it's about they rob banks,
Buddha.
and the bank robbers dress up like ex-presidents, and so one's like Ronald Reagan, one's Jimmy Carter, one's Nixon. It's pretty cool. Good movie. So, but yeah, Bodhi is his name, and I like that because he's this quasi spiritual guy in the movie. He's a surfer. Everyone thinks he gets it, but like he's fucking robbing banks. So it's like, all right, anyway.
Yeah, that's funny. So I forgot what the word sattva means, but it's like it's one of the three gunas, like rajas, tamas, and sattva.
Satwig, yeah, because if
Yeah,
you're Satwig, okay, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, which I think is I can't remember, but anyway, the concept of a bodhisattva is someone who holds back their enlightenment in this lifetime in order to bring others closer to enlightenment. And it's like, it's almost like they decided, prior to their birth, they were going to be a bodhisattva this lifetime so that they could help others get closer to enlightenment, and they would hold back their own enlightenment until everyone was enlightened. It's something like that. That's kind of the concept of it. So, thinking of all those things, I thought to myself, well, like I don't know what I decided, because we don't always know. And so what is so bad about saying that I'm just here to do what God wants me to do, and I trust that God's going to bring me to all the things I need to know, as long as I'm living, in accordance with the golden rule and all that, I'm going to be on the path toward enlightenment. But I'm not going to say, oh, that's my absolute thing I need to do this lifetime, because I don't know, right? Um, I'm All I can say is, like, I'm on the path. I want to be on the path, and I want to help others. And that's all I can really do this lifetime. Something you said made me think of that. Sorry, I can't remember what it was.
No, I like that because if somebody makes the decision and they're like, I'm gonna be a bodhisattva, like how egoic is that, right? If they say it like that, if they're like, I'm gonna be a bodhisattva, I'm gonna be the light for the world, I'm gonna stand there as an example so everybody knows, you know. And I'm not saying they don't exist, but I think the idea of it is appealing to people on a different like egoic level, whatever. And again, it happens. I feel like that was me. I'm just doing a recreation of me a few years ago. Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be this bodhisattva. And I think they people like that probably do exist, right? They hold back from their ascension or whatever just to be that example for other people. And I think it's great. But if you feel like you have to do something to help other people, maybe there's still work to be done. I don't know. So that's why it's such a fine line, right? Between is it I'm a bodhisattva. Oh, okay. Like,
Yeah, no, there's a fine line, absolutely.
oh,
But
I know
there's
you get it
also,
too. I'm not like laughing at you. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I didn't say that you were. I'm just saying there's a fine line of everything. It's like,
But that's why I like your approach though, because you're more down to earth. You're just like, listen, I'm here to learn my lessons and see what God has in store for me. It's so much better than being like, I'm a bodhisattva. Like,
yeah, yeah, because I don't know, right?
yeah.
I don't know what God has for me.
It's like me, if it's like I'm Jesus, or we're saying people say I look like Jesus, right? It's you're making a claim when you say you're a bodhisattva.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You're making a claim, right? And I'm like, I just look like that for people's sins. I don't know. But yeah, I had to get that in there. So yeah, no, I love that approach, and that's how I look at it. It's like we're just here. We do our best. It's all a mystery. We don't know really what happens. I think we just have like people's description of what they might have channeled, and there is truth in there. But I think really the biggest key is to not fear, to just be here in the moment, because all that stuff technically takes you out of the present moment. If you're sitting there like thinking, I want to be healed, I want to be a bodhisattva, I want to be able to levitate and start fire with my hands, like you're not in the present moment. You're wishing, if wishes were fishes, beggars would ride. So it's like you're going to sit there and wish all day. No, you just deal with the present moment. And I think that's really the secret that nobody wants to talk about in this whole spiritual community. I mean, there are people that do it, but when you start getting more toward the new age, when people don't talk about this idea of you're perfect, like Alan Watts would say all the time, like you're perfect. You just have to figure it out. That's what's wrong. And as you figure it out, you let go of all these things that you don't like, that you do these behaviors, because the reason you're doing this behavior or whatever it is because you're trying to escape an aspect of yourself. Like that's how I see it. And again, we're preaching to the choir because, I mean, we all have our behaviors, everybody, I'm not
Yeah.
but I think it's cool though, and it's cool to experience things like you try it, and you're like, what? I don't like this. I'm not gonna no, I was gonna say something. I'm not gonna engage in that behavior anymore just because I don't want to, not because somebody else said I should or shouldn't do it. Um, that's a real big one. Like that whole Ram Dass story we talk about with the spare ribs when he was a vegetarian. And then he realized he was just being phony with it. He was just like, oh, I'm a
Yes.
vegetarian. So he had to go. And that's a lot of times why I like people are, why would you do that? It's like, well, like certain people, like, okay, I'll just say there's this person. So this happens throughout my life though, that I become friends with people and that people are just like, why are you friends with this person? Like, and I'm like, well, I'm on my own journey and there's stuff, there's just a reason for it. It's like, I know what I'm,
Yes.
even though it doesn't look like I know what I'm doing. Sometimes that's the secret. I got this pencil, by the way. It's a big one because I have big hands, but it's like
Oh,
for kids. It's called My First because it's for kids. But it's
oh,
just
that's
it's a big
cute.
one, but it works great because I have big hands. I'm
Cute.
like, oh, I
That's
see what
cute.
you're doing. Yeah.
My sister had those, she bought a set of those pencils and we were at her house. Was it Christmas Eve or Christmas night? And we were hanging out and playing games and stuff. And we played a game that required, taking down scores. And she had those pencils. What is it? Ticonderoga? I don't know how
Oh
to
yeah,
pronounce
yep.
it. Those are nice pencils.
Ticonderoga. I don't know.
Yeah. But I was going to say something because you said something that made me think of the fool again. And it's,
Yeah,
oh, you said something about like the world is perfect, right? And it's like to the fool in the fool card, the world is perfect, right? It's a solution. The world is a solution. Yeah, it's perfect. Should we catch up on the chat?
exactly. I just want to say later, Joe. He said he had to run out, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
right. The world is perfect to the full. Hello, Sarah and John Chase. What's up, QSB? What's going on? Good to see you. Kathleen, I said what's up to her in the chat. Happy New Year. Thank you. Thank you. Spoons, what's up? As always. Mihao, we said hi to him earlier. We have the best people. We just have
Yeah.
to tell you. We can make
Nine
clips
people
all
in
day
the
about the
chat. And the
people in
moon
our
card,
chat. Go
sorry, the
ahead.
moon card is 18 and 1 + 8 is 9. We have 9 people in the chat.
Ooh, there we go.
9 is the hermit card.
Yeah, I love these chats because I feel like we can really have a group discussion. It's not just.
Yeah,
And feel free if you guys have any questions or any topics that you want to talk about or whatever. We don't have any planned topics today. I have a few Dune quotes, of course, because I've been listening to Dune again. So a couple,
nice.
just two that we could talk about. But yeah, let us know if there's anything you want to talk about. Like Joe says, it's the only internet. It's only
It's
chat on the internet that makes him not want to kill himself. Well, he has a show now, and that I was in that chat, and I didn't want to kill myself in there either. So good job, Joe. You know what you're doing. And
so
spoon.
a couple people mentioned my dream and um that was very vivid and they were glad I found my earring and I was glad about that too. Um the funny part that I didn't mention was that when we were at my sister's house, we were just chatting with my sister and her husband and the kids and we were going to say goodbye, but um Cody turns and looks at me. He's like, "Are you missing an ear? You're missing an earring." And I was like, "Huh." Like, "Oh." And I didn't like as much as like, the temptation is there to like freak out, right? I was just kind of like I was calm, but I was like, "You know what? Let's get going so we can go find it." Because I wanted to just, make sure we were on top of that. um, but yeah, I wasn't like fearful. I was kind of just like, okay, God, if you meant for me to lose this earring, there's a reason for you having meant for me to lose the earring. So if that's what it is, I'll take it. But if I can find it, I'm going to go look for it. You know what I mean? So I was grateful to have found it.
Amazing. So I locked my keys in my car twice in consecutive days. So it was Sunday night. I was at a bridal show and came back. And so normally I have a spare key in my wallet because it's an old car, so they're just small keys, and it has one for the ignition, a different key for the ignition, and one for the door. They're like because it's an old Buick. So anywho, so I keep a door key, and I had some work done on my car and something I don't know. Anyway, so I went to the bridal show, came home, and I locked my keys in my car, and which isn't a big deal because I was, I have a spare key. I'm like, okay. And I just had work done too a few days, like the week before. And it was maybe 4 days, not even. I just got back Saturday, and I think this was what, Sunday night. Yeah. I had work done, and I have my other set, like the spare set of keys was in my car because of that. I didn't take it out
So
Sunday.
you had locked both of them in then.
I locked both of them in, and then the extra spare key in my wallet that I always have, I guess I just lost because I had change in my wallet, and that so it must have just fell out. It's like a little zipper pouch thing.
Oh Lord,
So
Brandon, you
I
and
was
losing
like, oh
things.
no. But I have AAA, so they came, opened it up, and I was like, cool. I got the second set of keys, hung them inside, and then I thought I had the second set of keys with me. We went to a store. This was Monday. The next day, I got it fixed. Whatever, it took him forever to get there. And then he opened it, and then we went to a store to go shopping, and I locked my keys in my car then, and I thought I had the
Bear
spare
with you.
that I thought Elizabeth got or something. I don't know, whatever, but we didn't. And then we didn't have another house key either.
Oh my God, Brandon.
I know she was, let me tell you, rightfully so. She was very, we'll just say, not happy. So I get it. Oh, she took it really well. I love my wife, Elizabeth. Listen, she's great. She's a champ. So I'm just, this is more about me. But I try to stay, not beat myself up over it, because something like that, you could really get upset, and rightly so, and get mad at yourself, right? But I try to stay chill about it, and it ended up working out. I had to get into the house through other means, which I was able to do, and we got the keys, and everything's good now. I have a spare set with me, so I'm good now. But I just said all that because I could have let it ruin. And we were gonna go somewhere Monday night. To There's a venue that was having a Christmas party that invited me. And it was an hour away, like a little over an hour. So by the time that whole debacle, like one of her friends came, who's great, to help us out because we thought she had a spare key. One of his friends, and I guess maybe she didn't, or I don't know. But anyway, it was a fun adventure. So because of all that, we just got done too late, and it wouldn't make sense to go there because it was ending, by 10, and we would have got there like 9:30 or whatever. So, but that's the thing we said when we talked about it later. We're like, maybe that's what we could have got hit by a bus. Like the thing I always say, like, who knows? Something could have happened on the way there, or you
And
never
it's
know.
slowing you down.
Yeah, we just weren't meant to go. And then we had that communication after, which I love. That's what I love about my wife Elizabeth, because she's always open to communication, and she's into this self-work stuff. So it's great, but it's helped me a lot because, previous to getting into this relationship, I would always point out things with other people, and be like, oh, this is why, and now I'm like, oh, I have to point the finger at myself though. You know what I mean? Like that's where I have the most success, is
Preach
when I
to yourself.
figure it out. And then I just am here for her because I love her, and I just accept her for who she is. And it's, like she's having revelations, I'm having revelations. It's great. So it really just goes back to the whole thing about trusting the plan, the thing we talk about all the time, and just not fearing. I must not fear.
Yes,
Fear is
fear's
the
the
mind
mind
killer.
killer.
Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when the fear has gone by, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. I memorized it. I listened to it on the audio, and then he goes, "He felt calmness return."
Yes,
I love
indeed.
that. Yeah, it's like the first part in the Gom Jabbar, but
That's like a mantra, basically.
yeah, that's what I've been trying to do, and it's great because it puts you in the present moment, if nothing else. Because when things go wrong, we always think about the worst case scenario in our head, and we're like, "Oh shit, it's gonna happen," you know?
Wow, you know what that makes me think of? Okay, so what's his name? Paul had his hand in the box, right? And he felt like his hand was burning like in hell, you know?
Yeah, he's like,
And
"What's in the box?" And the lady's like, "Pain."
yeah.
Go ahead.
And so instead of like I don't know, like you when you're in pain, you have no choice but to be in the present moment, right? But he also took the opportunity to be in the present moment by also acknowledging that it's just fear. And fear is just something that doesn't really exist. It's something that you create in your mind. So if it's almost like acknowledging it's like the letting go process, like in real time. Like as the pain is happening, you can just be like, it's just fear. And what's fear? Fear is just in my mind. It's a construct. And I can I can let this all go because I know that it is not really real, right? And in so doing, you allow yourself to feel the pain. And because of that, you're letting it go at the same time, right? Because when you allow yourself to be in that present moment, then you let it go, right?
Yeah. And his hand in the box was pain, and the fear was, oh, I might lose my hand or I might die or whatever. That's the fear, like you were saying. But the actual threat was the lady said, I have a pin held to your neck. If you pull your
Oh,
hand, I am going to kill you. So
oh, right.
consciously knew that he would die if he withdrew his hand, right? So it's he was just facing whatever it was, the fear. He knew he had to just face it, and not give in. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. I love it.
good point. Well,
Yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead. There was something else you were going to say about that.
No, not. I was just gonna bring it back to like basically that's why we talk about trusting the plan and not having that fear because in it, well, it's not about not having fear. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, I'm glad I said it that way because we all have fear. We're all going to experience fear. It's how you act based upon that fear. That's a very important distinction because some people
Response
try to, it's like trying to
and
destroy
reaction.
your ego. They try to have, I'm going to have no fear. And they're like, I'm not afraid. It's like, no, you could still be afraid. You're just acting in spite of it. That's one thing that you notice. I noticed a lot about the Wheel of Time, some of the characters because it's like 14 books. So like, long these characters, there's a lot of development. And that's one of the characters, like somebody will be calling them brave and they're like, well, I'm not brave. Like they'll be thinking to themselves, like, I'm scared. But in the character, that's what they say. It's like, yeah, no, it's okay that you're scared, but you still do it. You still stand up and take action despite the fear. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very
There's a
important.
concept of like, do it afraid. Like,
Yeah.
it's okay to be afraid, but take the action. Still
Oh, you
do it.
can even use the fear as the indicator, right? Like what scares you. It's kind of like if you know
Face the fear.
if you're afraid of spiders, you're like, well, I want to conquer that fear. It's like it's a good, that's, when people talk to me and I try to like give them advice or whatever, if they're like, I'm like, well, what do you have fears? I've said this to people before. Like I have a friend who's afraid of snakes. I'm like, well, then try to face that fear. Like that's a good place to start. Um, and I think there was something else I was going to say about fear, but I can't remember. But yeah,
That's okay.
it'll come.
Um, in the meantime, while you think about it, Michal wanted to see some of the cards from this deck. So
Oh yeah, here
I'll
I'll pin
just
you so you can.
so the like minor arcana is pretty basic usually. So like this is the so they have the span, it's like Spanglish cuatro, that bitcoins, the four of bitcoins,
The
like
millennium.
that. What's this guy? The king of cups, the king de cups. Okay, let me just see what else we got here. What's this guy?
Mhm.
El chariot.
I love it.
uh what's this guy? El hermit.
Oh, I like that.
It's funny. It's like I might mind you, I haven't really looked through this deck that much, so I'm kind of learning it myself. Page day wands, page day cups. Let's see what else. Let's see what's this guy. La Tower.
Nice.
Oh, look at that guy. El Fool. Is he got a VR headset on?
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
He has a VR headset on.
That's, I gotta figure out a way to not show my video when you're pinned.
Mute yourself. I'm just kidding. You
I'm
just
just gonna
okay.
stop my video, or does it still show me coming up as a
I
no?
no, I don't think so.
Okay, cool.
Well, yes, it does. It'll just say Brandon Bonanza when you talk. So this is what I mean by like, just put us together. It's fine. I don't care if you're a gallery.
Yeah, yeah, I was actually doing that. And you're like, just put us together. It's
Seis de cup. See what I mean? Like these are really basic. All the number, like the minor arcana are kind of like this.
uh,
Let's see what
and I
it
was just
is.
gonna say really quickly, zoom, zoom will keep us together. You're like,
What's
just put
that?
us together.
What about this? The Hierophant as a frog.
I'm gonna pin you and be quiet. Put that back up. Hang on.
Crazy, huh?
You know what's interesting about that? Oops.
Let's see.
Um, because frogs, like frogs are amphibious and they start off in the water and then they end up on the land, well, in both. So I like it shows the frog out of the water. So it's kind of like a butterfly story, right? Same kind of thing where you have this transformation and how he's able to go to the
Tadpole.
land, which could be seen as like another dimension, like spiritual dimension or
Mhm.
whatever. Because he's used to being in the medium of water. Now he's got to go in the medium of so
Wow.
land is the same thing that water represents to us, land represents to a frog. It's like the opposite.
Okay, crazy. Hmm.
I don't know, I'm just scatting, but yeah,
The devil card. He looks
he's got his underwear on. That's great.
his tiny whities. Let's see what else we have. Um,
He's Walter White with a sunburn. Walter White
Temperance.
when he was in his tidy whities. Oh, I
Is
like
that
that.
a parrot?
Yeah, I think so. Like an
The
African
parrot.
gray. Looks like an African gray parrot or
I
something
don't
like that.
even know.
And the African grays are ones that talk too a lot. Hmm.
Oh, and
Oh,
sun. The world, dude.
how crazy is it that you got a cholo come to your house right before the show started?
Dude,
And we
okay,
just checked.
that was freaking nuts. That was
Where's
so
the nine
freaking
of jump starts?
so okay, so this morning, Cody tells me, or I don't know if it was yesterday or this morning. I think it was, I don't know. Anyway, he said there's a old like Explorer outside with a trailer that has a bunch of old tires and junk in the back. And he's like, I don't know who that is. I'm like, yeah, neither do I. Well, I get out of the shower and I'm like getting ready and stuff in front of the mirror. And then I hear the doorbell ring. And usually we have like in this beautiful weather because we have gorgeous weather here during this time frame.
Must be nice. No,
I know.
no, I,
We
I
have the
love the
we
cold.
have the
It,
screen doors. Like we just open the doors and the screen doors are locked. So I didn't, I was still getting dressed. So like I had to put my clothes on and then I was like, I poked my head to see who was at the door. And I'm like, who the hell is that? So then I finished getting dressed and then I walked and the guy was still there. And I'm like, why hasn't he left? And I thought it was maybe for like the veterans because they had this like thing go out and like, oh, we'll pick up your donations by, whatever, just leave them out. And thought, oh, maybe he's like asking about the veterans donations. I don't know. So I went over the door and I said, how can I help you? And he's like, my battery died in my car and I need to jump start it. Can I use your I have an extension cord. Can I use the outlet out here? And there was one like right outside my front door and I was like, yeah, sure, you can use it, but I was like, I can't help you right now because I'm busy because I was going to get ready for the show. And Cody was on a call and he couldn't come to the door, so I was like, I nobody can help you, dude. But then later on Cody came and assessed everything, but the guy had plugged into the wall and he was like getting his car started and it worked, you know.
oh, good. And Cody was able to go out and help him.
Well,
Or,
Cody was like, I'll unplug it for you now that it's done, whatever. And so
oh,
he
okay,
just
yeah, I gotcha. At least he
all
was
done.
there
But
while the guy was still there. That's cool. He didn't take
yeah,
your
and
them off.
yeah, but he's like a cholo guy, like middle age and like, but he was kind of hunched, like he was like hunched back. I don't know what happened to him, but he was wearing that kind of clothing, right? And I was just like, dude, like, why are you in my neighborhood? But I was like, God, please don't let
You're
this
so
be.
racist, sure. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm like, God, please don't let this be like bad. But yeah, in because I got a cholo in at my door today, I decided to pull from the La Loteria, the Millennial Loteria tarot deck.
Hmm.
So that's why we have these. Yeah. Let's see. See how these are just very like,
Oh, I thought it was a synchronicity. I thought that you had
no, I think I
were
decided to
planning.
pull.
Oh yeah, you I think you did say that earlier. I guess I brought up your Cholo story. I thought you talked about it on the podcast.
Oh no, that's I just talked about it before we got on.
Yeah, it's hard to distinguish reality from Zoom. El
Oh,
Magician.
that's a magician.
Oh, that's cool. The
Um,
Magus.
see what else do we got?
There's
Oh,
one.
go ahead.
So one of these quotes from Dune is really, really short, so I could just bring it up, and it says, "One cannot, let's see, one cannot have a single thing without its opposite. One cannot have a single thing without its opposite." There's a whole like thing before he says, but that's what he says because it's like, you have to know what's going on in the book, but
Mm.
it's pretty cool because it's like, you want to have these happy times and we try to plan to be happy all the time. Well, if you're always wanting to be happy, you got to remember there's a polarity, and I'm not saying you can't be happy or content, but like to always want everything to be like, it's a fucking great day today. And, like, um, I think you're going to have the opposite. That's just one way to look at it, but it's a good thing to remember whenever you want something or you have a desire.
It makes me think of the Tao because can't remember. It might be, I don't know if it's the first verse or the second verse because I'm still not even into my second verse one, but I've been looking at it, haven't looked at it in a while. But there's this concept of when you see, I think it's the second verse. Um like when you look at a an extreme, it basically defines the other extreme. Like you have one and then you have the other because you can define one based on the other. Like
Yeah.
you can't have uh light if you don't know darkness, or you can't have darkness if you don't know light, something like that.
Yeah. The one of the Stephen Mitchell verses, like, depend, like, it's like, heat depends on cold or something like that. And like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Let's see.
so true though.
Yeah, but before you started talking, um I had this one up. Look.
Oh, I like it. The strength card. It's a woman with a rose tattoo. I
Isn't
like
that
it.
funny?
Yeah, because the rose is a great symbol of strength, I think, and resilience to think about what it has to go through. And then it's so beautiful and it has thorns though, and has such a
Yeah.
powerful, potent aroma. Like we have this soap. Shout out to Camamoo. I think it is Camamoo soap or whatever. It's Camaau. Michelle's Home Healing. She told me about it because she had stopped making products for a while. She's like, that's where we used to get things. So we got one. I think it had rose and I forget what else, but it smells. Remember Ivory? Remember Ivory soap? Like the what? Just like regular commercial soap. Ivory's like a big brand. It almost smells like that, just not as like fake, but it's
Mm.
so powerful and it's that rose. It just like stays with you throughout the whole day. It's great. So I like that depiction of it, and it's on a muscle of a woman rolling up her arms. It reminds me of like the World War II propaganda poster of, like women rolling up their sleeves to go to work.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, but it's so true though, because to roll up your sleeves to do that inner work, it takes all the strength, and that's why Mr. Crowley put strength uh, in that position of justice, because to him, it took the strength of will was the hardest thing to actually,
Card
want
number 11 as
want to
opposed to
be,
number 8.
yeah, want to be even interested in like self work kind of things, esoteric topics and stuff. So yeah,
True, true.
and women are very strong. Yes, they birth the
High
children.
priestess.
You know. Oh
Yes, they
yeah,
do.
a Little Mermaid. I like that because it gives you on a witch broom. Oh,
What's that?
must be a special kind of broom.
Is she like side saddle on it?
Hmm.
Oh, anyway, I hope you enjoyed these, Michal, because I think you asked if we could see some.
Oh,
Oh,
what's that?
the hanged man.
Oh, that's interesting too, because the fish gets pulled out of water. This is something I thought about a lot, even as a kid. Um, I think about like maybe a comedian said this, I can't remember, but like imagine if we're walking around, you saw a hamburger, like you're near the ocean and you just see a hamburger, so you grab it and then you get pulled into the ocean, like the a fish just totally gets pulled out of his realm, his medium, like I was talking about water, and he's just in this total foreign place. So that is a good analogy for that. It's like to look at the world in a different view. That's like the hangman does upside down.
Yeah,
It's interesting deck.
it's
I like it.
crazy. He has a little like halo on top of his head, kind of too. You can barely see it.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's hard to see. I don't know what this is about. Judgment? I guess when you're on Instagram all the time, maybe.
Oh, and it's a cactus that looks like a dick.
Yeah. Dick pics.
I didn't want to say it.
Oh my God, that's terrible. Um,
Did you
anyway,
ever
it
see
looks
The
like we
Night
don't.
Before? That's a good Christmas comedy.
What is?
The Night Before, it's called. Like you'd say, like The Night Before Christmas, but it's just
Uh-huh.
called Before. Elizabeth told me about it. It's really funny because there's a part with dick pics because Seth Rogen's in it and he gets another character. He's like doing drugs. He's married and about to have his wife's going to have a kid, and she's like, oh, it's like a ritual where they go out with friends every night. So his wife provides the drugs. It's really funny. But anyway, so he gets one of the women's phones. He thinks it's his, and he's looking at a dick, like some guys sending dick pics. So it's pretty fun. I don't think they show it, but it's pretty funny. Like James Franco is in it. It's one of those movies. It's pretty cool though. So anyway, that's what it reminded me of. Ooh, dancing, huh? Does he have a knife in his
He
hand?
has
What
a
is
knife in his hand.
Let's dance. And those are like Morocco's. Oh no, it's his scales. Oh, never mind.
Those are
I thought
scales,
he was-
yeah. Justice.
And what's below him? An avocado? What
A
is that?
hat,
A hat.
probably his hat.
Hmm.
Not sure what that's
Out for
from.
justice. It's like revenge, almost.
The lovers.
I thought he was dancing. Two of Swords is pretty good. It's like the normal.
Oh yeah, two of swords. The
Cool.
emperor. We were
Yeah.
just talking about Marcus Aurelius, the emperor.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is like a Native American or Mexican, native South American. Well,
Haha.
maybe North American or Central American. But yeah, that's basically some of the cards. Hope you enjoyed that.
Did you show the death card?
I don't think we came across that one, but I'll oh yeah, here it is. It was like the third card.
I'm gonna make it big. Yeah. Interesting. I
You're
like it.
talking, so it makes you
Well, it's on both of us now.
okay.
Yeah, I when I start talking is when I give up, and I'm going back to both of us usually. Now, starting like 5 minutes ago. I
Oh, we've been
so
on
the
for
other,
133. Oh, now it's 34.
you know how I talk about that other, there's another Dune quote that I talk about a bunch, and I always mess it up. And it's something like, when God ordained. So this is the quote, because that's why I wanted you to show the death card. When God hath ordained a creature to die in a particular place, he causeth that creature's wants to direct him to that place.
Read
So
that again for me.
when God hath ordained a creature to die in a particular place, so we'll read it in normal, when God wants a person to die in a certain place, he causes that person's wants to direct him to that place, basically, like
Oh, yeah.
desire.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And that's what they say when someone's like, "Oh, aren't you worried about you're going to die or something's going to happen?" The Fremen, they're just like, when God hath ordained a man to die, he'll, like it's going to happen. So
Yeah.
they're like,
That is, I mean, it's like when I say like I was meant to go the way I'm meant to go. Like that's why I'm not like worried.
yeah, exactamundo.
But some people might be like freaked out about that, because like how dare you not be prepared, Like my so one of my sisters called me yesterday and asked me if I was okay being a power of attorney for her if anything ever happened and her husband is not able to make decisions for her. And I said, "Yeah, I'll do that." But like, she's like, "Yeah, I have been putting this off for too long." And so I was like, "Yeah, I mean, if you want me to do that, I'll do that for you." But yeah, it's like I kind of like I'm like I don't have any of that paperwork because I'm kind of like if I'm meant to go a certain way, I'm meant to go.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know.
I was thinking
I
about maybe updating because I had a will when I was in the Marines. So I think it might smart just because you can even make your own will. At least this
Yeah,
way, there's no questions when the shit goes
yeah.
down.
Like I
But I see
definitely
what you're saying.
don't want to be a burden on anybody. Like
Yeah,
that's my
like
only
a power
thing.
of
Is
attorney.
like
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I'm just like when you have like a house and you have a bunch of things and then like someone's gonna have to deal with that. I'm like, that's the only thing where I'm like, I don't want it to be a pain in the butt for people. But
But it's better than the government getting it too, though, because that's what
yeah, it's true. That's true. But
going
I'm
to.
like, you know what God wants, God
Yeah,
wants.
maybe the government needs another house. But yeah, you're right though, totally. I feel like if you're called to do it, then do it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if I didn't get the paperwork in order, then yeah, that's probably what would happen. So it would be wise to consider doing things like that. I'm just kind of like, we come with nothing, we leave with nothing.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's funny because I didn't used to be that way and then I had a flip about that and that's why sometimes it's hard for people to understand you because they don't totally get that. But I feel like when you give things they just come back to though, But it's
Yeah.
another one of those cases of having to be balanced and remember your spiritual and physical and all that. Like but I think it's about you feel called to do and what makes you feel like your intuition. That's why you
Yeah,
can't really
that's
tell somebody.
and so like not every day, but often I'm just like, God, please lead and guide me to do all the things I need to do today and the rest of my days. Like whatever I'm meant to do, just allow me to do it. And, you know, so I just have to trust that God's going to allow me to arrive at those places that I need to arrive.
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's hard. It's easy. It's easier said than done, is what we could say. But um, you know, that's why you listen to the Over Sharon show because we just talk about it and this is what we ponder here. I mean, what more important thing is there to ponder, right? Am I right, everybody?
Life.
Life. I'm gonna hang on. I'm gonna adjust my lighting. Speaking of that, what
Okay.
get us a little more? Yeah, look at that.
Is it getting dark over there now?
Oh yeah, it's darker outside.
Oh.
Oh, now it's a little more intimate. I'm gonna just close the shade so
Ooh.
there we go.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
still have it's still pretty light out here. Probably be
it's
dark in a couple,
5
but
o'clock here. Yeah, so
it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
it's 5 o'clock right here. And
Cheers.
yeah, cheers to 5 o'clock. Let's get out the
But anyway, well, I was not that we have to decide what the next series will be on, but I would like to consider I've been adding so many books to my list of let's do these next. um so when we did the I don't think you did it on YouTube, but we did a little poll on Telegram, and I think the Bhagavad Gita got the most votes. But I was thinking of doing something a little shorter, some in between, or maybe parallel. Like we could
Ah,
switch, right? We could
yeah.
think about doing them parallel, like
Well,
doing
one might contrast with the other and give us insight. I mean, the way that synchronicities work.
totally, totally.
Go ahead.
So for some of the shorter ones, my thoughts are um The Occult Anatomy of Man by Manly P. Hall.
Mm.
That one is like mind blowing, mind blowing. Um, the other one would be The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. And the other one would be As a Man Thinketh by James Allen.
Ooh,
Because they're all kind of short-ish. They're not like super long reads. But I'm sure that when we get into them, we'll have, plenty of commentary.
yeah. I'm feeling like the Manly P. Hall one. I don't know.
Okay.
He's like one of the first people that I came across as far as the esoteric stuff when I was into like Mark Passio and Michael Tessarion more heavily. So yeah, that I would say that or the Prophet, but maybe, you know.
Okay, maybe we do the Cult Anatomy of Man
Mm.
first and then the Prophet, and then
Mm.
As a Man Thinketh. Or, we'll as we go, we'll figure out what we
Yeah.
do.
And I think the Bhagavad Gita one would be great. We should do
Yeah.
a whole episode just talking about it or something.
So on the Bhagavad Gita, I think there are multiple versions of it. Like, right, there's Eknath Eshwaran, of course. Um, I'm looking at my list here. There's a Yogi Ramacharaka. I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Did Aleister Crowley do an interpretation by any chance?
I know. I don't think so.
Mm.
But I can try to find out. Sir Edwin Arnold did a Bhagavad Gita interpretation. Okay, so the Yogi Rama Charaka version is from 1907. The Sir Edwin Arnold is appears to be from 1885, so that's an
Ooh.
older one. And Eknath Eshwaran, of course, his was from 1985 and then updated in 2007. And then Barbara Stoller
Isn't that
Miller.
crazy? 1885, 1985, 1907, 2007.
Holy shit, Brandon. Oh,
I'm
19. Oh,
I
wait.
can't help it. I'm just like numbers. It's like a squirrel. I'm like numbers. Like
Holy shit, Brandon. I didn't even notice that.
maybe he did
Oh
it on
my
purpose.
God.
100 years later, and then another 100 years. I don't
Holy
know.
smokes. I didn't even realize that. 1885. So Sir Edwin Arnold, 1885. Eknath Ashwaran, 1985. And then Yogi Ramacharaka from 1907. And Eknath did his update of it in 2007. There is also one from Barbara Stoller Miller from 1986. And the original for Sir Edwin Arnold was 1885. Barbara Stoller Miller's is 1 year after Eknath Eshwaran's original.
I think Eknath was onto something, but I'm always down to do multiple versions. But what do you think? We could always
Yeah,
talk
I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. Like, because I know we just
maybe just
ended
two.
up doing four versions
The
of
Dow.
the Tao, but I, it could lead to some interesting thoughts if we do a couple of versions. So
Yeah, it's just more content.
yeah.
So it's good. Good for us.
Yeah, it gives us some definitely more like ideas and thoughts to look at and contrast and compare.
And I also thinking for future, we obviously we're gonna have some more guests on, but I'm thinking about maybe reaching out to Rodney Norman because he was
Oh,
talking
sure.
about publicly he had a death in his family. So
I think his
uh,
daughter died.
yeah, I believe it was his daughter. So that might be if he wants to talk about it, I'm sure he might. And this would be, I think, a good spot for him. And we could always refer people back to episode 13 to 1313, and we could talk about our losses with him as well. I think that would be a good episode. So maybe perhaps anyone have any ideas for guests? Who definitely should get Spoons and Joe back.
Yeah,
Bootsy for Shizzle, he's always a great guest. And then we could talk to Nick again too, see what he's been up
yeah.
to. I know he's been busy moving and stuff, but maybe we can get him to give us some
I
time.
think he's more settled now. So
Oh, good. Okay, yeah, that's what I figured. Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome.
definitely good options for new guests. Well, I mean, similar guests and new guests like Rodney Norman. So you think you'll reach out to him?
Yeah, I'll reach out to him because I was thinking about having him on my show again to see if he would, but I think it would make more sense to have him come here, especially if he's open and like wants to talk about it.
Yeah, I would ask him. Sure. And see if, I mean, if he wants to be open about that and vulnerable about that, that would be
Or
cool.
yeah,
You,
not even if he just wants to come on and talk because he's into a lot of like stoicism and stuff too. So
oh, okay.
have some great
Nice. Yeah.
conversations. Yeah, he's into philosophy and a lot of different things. So we could have, and he's a comedian, so
Yeah.
he doesn't take anything seriously. And he was a Marine. Yeah. So um, yeah. Let me just here.
Mihal is suggesting interviewing Abby J. I believe her last name is Johnson from the Secret Society of Good Guys, which is a channel I think in a group chat that um I think Gordy was part of. I don't know. I'm not keeping up with a lot of these new with these new group chats, but I think Gordy was part of it. I'm not sure if he still is. But yeah, Abby has been on Bootsy's channel on his podcast before. I have never interacted with her per se, like on a one-on-one. I've seen her in Telegram group chats, but yeah, we can see we can see about having her on at some point.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds good. Anybody we could talk to about these kind of ideas because there's so many common misconceptions out there and wrong ways of it's there's just like kind of false ways of believing, and most of it is based on materialism, and this is what we talk about in the show so much, but it's just like the thing I've been talking about a few times on the show now, like a fish that's in water. It's like that joke, an old fish is swimming by two other fish and he's like, hey boys, how's the water today? And then when the
They're
two
like,
fish
what's water?
pass by, they're like, what the heck is water? They don't. And I think that's materialism is like that for us, because it really does affect so many ways of belief. Like just the fact, the common belief that the world's going to end someday, and you know, a fiery destruction. I mean, yeah, maybe it will, but not in the I don't know the way I think people say, or just things about. It's hard to explain, but we talk about this a lot in the show. But materialism, I think, is the largest, if you would say, religion in the world, or like kind of false belief system,
Mm,
because
mm.
it really puts everything in the wrong. You have people arguing about like if we live on a globe or on a flat plane or a simulation, when it's all just a different form of materialism. So it's just like three forms of Christianity arguing about it. It's the same thing. But I get it if you're like into flat earth and stuff like that, because it's the mind opening part of it and the freeing, and I understand that stuff. But to claim that you know something, it's like I don't know, man. I just said that those who know don't talk. But materialism for sure though is the biggest one. So I think it's cool because sometimes I'll hear things and people talking, and I like a lot of what they have to say. but then they might say something and I'm like, but what about, what about material? Isn't that just materialistic belief? And it's cool. Like we talk about on the show, like we're not judging people because of that. And everybody has their own path and their own way to figure it out. But I like to, if people are into this and they're into talking about it on this podcast, then yeah, it's like, let's talk about it. So that's all. We have a fun discussion. And
Yeah,
then
I
about
definitely
the Trinity. No,
materialism.
I'm just kidding.
What?
I said we have a fun discussion about the Trinity.
Yeah, with materialism, it's when you're unfortunately when you're stuck in materialism, you can't really see the spiritual aspect. And try as you may, you can't force other people to see your perspective. So, you know, I've learned the hard way that it's best to just like let people think what they're going to think if they're going to try to argue with you, you know what I mean? About their point of view and that they're right and that you're wrong. It's like you just got to let them, you know what? You're right. You are right.
Because yeah, because
I was
to
thinking to myself the other day, the funny one that's like, I'd rather be happy than right. I'm like, it's like I finally got to the point where I'm like, I'd rather be happy than right. Like, you know what? You're right. You're so right.
and the thing is too, you can that's how it starts, right? And then the way I'm looking at it now is like, well, they really are right though, because like from their point of view, they're speaking their truth.
They're right for them. But,
This belief
even
system, they found a truth in it, and it's up to them to slay their own cow, to slay their own sacred cow, because when they do, then nobody could take that truth away from them. Like if I give them a truth, they could be like, oh yeah, Brandon, he's 6'5", he's gorgeous, and like he has this voice. So he must know what he's talking about. So I'm gonna believe it. Then they'll have doubts, maybe like, well, Brandon's a little, he's a, So, but if they figure it out for themselves, then they're not going to have any doubts. It's going to be a core truth for them. So it's a
absolutely.
delicate balance, right? When people are asking you those questions, you can give them things to ponder and resources and stuff like that. But like Sharon said, to crack someone's shell, we've come up with this before. The only way to really, I think, for somebody to wake up is to have like a near death experience, like when people almost die of cancer or whatever it is, and then they wake up and change their lives. So
Yeah. Or they have a dark night of the soul where they reach a rock bottom
yeah, rock
of
bottom.
a
Yeah.
place where they're doing it till they're done, and they're just like, I keep doing this over and over with no real solution. Like, what am I doing? And they have to do that themselves.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's perfect, because it's all just a dance. It's all, oh, this is something I came up with and I could bring to the show. So think of The Hobbit, think of Lord of the Rings or your favorite adventure movie. That entire adventure is the movie or the series or the sequel. Now we'll take the Lord of the Rings, right? There's certain parts where everything's going wrong. Like when Gandalf, spoiler alert, when Gandalf gets taken by the Balrog and everyone thinks he's dead or whatever, things like that, right? They have to go through Moria. That's kind of like a dark night of the soul. Or you can look at it as, if you are using this movie as an analogy to your life, you can look at that as some bad times that you're going through. Like you got to go through Moria. You don't want to, like they tried to go all these other ways, but everyone was pushing them that way. So finally they just went that way.
That was
And
the way they were meant to go.
it was a hard road and they lost Gandalf and all these bad things happened. So in the moment, you would have been like, we shouldn't have went this way. But at the end of the movie, you're like, oh yeah, fucking it worked out perfect. That's how life is. Right now, you're in Moria and you just lost Gandalf, and you're like, Gandalf. And you're freaking the fuck out,
Randolph.
and you're crying. They're all crying outside and they're all sad about it. And no, it's just part of the journey, but it's okay that they did that. Obviously, but what I'm saying is to use it as an analogy to your life. If you're going through some hard times and some rough times, you could just say, this is my Moria. There's going to be victory on Mount Doom. We're going to Gandalf, no, sorry, not Frodo.
The
Gollum
real hero.
is going to make sure that ring gets destroyed. And there's another point too, right? Somebody in your life that you hate, you can't stand or whatever. There's a reason they're there. They're your Gollum, right? Maybe they're just reminding you of your shadow and parts of you that you don't like. So to bring a nice little point to this, to put a fine point on all right, man, to put a fine point on all this, we haven't done a crow impersonation in a while.
Yeah.
To do that, I would say that you can look at your life when you're going through hard times as your time in Moria or whatever, your favorite, like Star Wars. You just got your hand chopped off and you're clinging for life and you're like, oh no, whatever bad point you're going through, you can realize that it is like the Tao says, everything ebbs and flows, it goes in cycles, and it's going to uptick. Like, what can I learn now while I'm down here at the bottom with my hand chopped off, clinging, waiting for the Millennium Falcon to come get me, the Millennial Falcon. Speaking of millennials, what can I learn from this
It's
experience?
funny.
So I think that's the message. So that's another way you could take these adventure stories when they go on a quest and look at it. You're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have fun. There's going to be those rests at Lorien or whatever that you're going to be able to rest among the elves and rejuvenate, right? And then there are going to be the hard times you have to go through. But that's what makes it fun and a challenge. And that's where you learn lessons. And that's what makes life that's what gives life a purpose, right? So you actually have a purpose now. And when you have that purpose and you feel like you have a purpose, even if it's just to figure out each moment what the problem is and how can I solve it. And again, it's not to make things your way. It's just how can I accept it? We could say, right? How can I accept what's going on and learn and benefit from it? And how can I be grateful? Then you have a purpose. And once you have a purpose, a lot of things change. That's what I feel like, because I feel like a lot of people feel like they have no purpose. And that's what the problem really is generally in the society.
I just finished the book Ikigai. It's about finding your purpose. And what was really cool about that book, there were some parts where I was just like, yeah, I don't, this is a little bit like superfluous. I don't really need all this information. But anyway, it there was a point where it was like your purpose doesn't need to be anything, just like I think Bootsy says too. It doesn't even need to be anything like spectacular. It can just be as simple as I want to provide a good life for my family. Like it can be that simple. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be something crazy or like, oh, radical or like, oh, this is mine and yours is different than mine and I'm better than you. It's not like that. It's like, it's what you love to do and what you can do for the world and what the world needs from you. Of course, it's those four. I think it's those four things in the Venn diagram thing. But yeah,
Yeah, it's an amazing thing. And we're preaching to the choir because I feel like Sharon and I are both in that area where we're trying to figure out, what our purpose is. But if you could just have it running as like your basic thought, like your operating system, as my purpose here, one is to accept things as they happen, try to enlighten my consciousness, or to raise it if I can, but just accept things and realize I'm perfect. And then from there, I think it allows you to be more in the present moment, and you can realize those opportunities when they come, and you could start to figure those things out. And you read a book like Sharon just talked about. But I think it is important to have that baseline, because we talked about self sabotage before in one of the Tao episodes, but that is what really stops most people from achieving their dreams, whatever it is. If it's a person you want to be with, or a career, or like, whatever you want to be, a rock star or whatever, it's the self sabotage that gets in the way. It's crazy. Think about how many Kurt Cobains are out there or whatever, like that just never followed through with something. And that's the thing too I'm finding about being 48 and a half today. Thank you, everybody. Today's my
it's your half birthday.
48 and a half years in the realm as this conscious being. So I'm told in 6 months will be, yes,
You're
my,
finishing up your 49th year.
yeah. And this is something I've learned. What was, I think I lost it because I got excited.
Happy half birthday, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. Oh yeah, so the whole self-sabotaging thing and the having a purpose, and like um I don't remember. It'll come back to me.
A
But
very merry and birthday to you. To
uh,
you.
to
Remember
me,
that where that's from? Yeah, was it to me? Yes.
is that Mary Poppins or
No, it's Alice in Wonderland.
oh, all right.
When I think it's the White Rabbit or something, they're having a little feast. Someone's singing a very merry and birthday to some. I don't remember whose unbirthday it was, but yes, we are good enough. We're smart enough, and doggone it, people like us. Josh says, I'm surprised you know that, Sharon. What do you mean? The White Rabbit song or the Alice in Wonderland song, A Very Merry and Birthday.
One pill
Speaking of
makes you like
white, um,
me?
me? I'm just kidding. So
Because you said white. Anyway, go
yeah, I
ahead.
know. So when I looked at my shadow, right, in the mirror in the dream,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was looking online for like a person who looked like what it looked like in the mirror, right? And the closest person I could find was a girl. I just was looking for like hairstyles, like curly hair, blonde, short, curly hair, or something like that. And I clicked on this one and it was like Julia Garner. And I'm like, I don't know who that is. And apparently she's an actress from the show Ozarks, which I never
Oh yeah.
watched.
Oh
So, but she's the closest thing I could find to what I looked like in that mirror. My
wow.
alter ego, my shadow per
She was
se.
in that's the same one that was in Truman Show, right? Wasn't she Truman's wife?
I don't think
Or is that
so.
a different actress? Oh, okay, maybe it's a because
I
she's
mean,
in
I
Ozark
don't.
too.
She's known for Ozarks, and she looks pretty young.
Oh,
So
she does she have curly hair?
yeah, blonde, curly,
Yeah,
blonde
never mind.
hair.
I was thinking of a different character. Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, she's a really good in that show. Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, you watched Ozarks?
Ozark, yeah, I highly recommend it.
Really?
It's like kind of like Breaking Bad. It's like similar theme, but
Yeah, that's why I was
the
like, I'm
family's
not really sure I'd
involved
watch it, but
and it's not as like crazy, like the first the episode, of course the first episode is going to be nuts, but the violence isn't as bad. There's still violence and stuff, but whatever. I don't think it's as crazy as Breaking Bad. But yeah, it's pretty good though because the family's involved. Spoiler alert, but like the wife's in on it. You know what I mean? So like it's the whole family trying to figure it out, and it takes place in the Ozarks, which are beautiful. Missouri, I guess it's all lakes and stuff. So it's just the scenery is great, and that's why it's funny because like I do this a lot, like when I watch Game of Thrones or whatever. And like all these issues and problems are happening, but just look at the landscape. Like, can't people just fucking figure it out and enjoy the beauty and just have a chill, like, you know, they gotta be plotting and scheming and like, it's so funny. Can't we
I'm
just
going to
party? You know what I mean? We just want to
I'm going
party.
to share the screen of what um the picture that I found. It was kind of like this.
Yep, yep. Oh wow.
See it?
Interesting.
But it like I feel like the hair on like the top was curlier. So it wasn't exactly like this, but it
Look her
was
up from
that
episode of Ozark because her hair is curlier in that show.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
that's like the closest thing I could find to what um my reflection looked like in that. It was crazy.
and talk about if you want to like study family trauma, Ozark is a great show for that because there's a couple different families involved and you could just see how it's getting passed down and like her character specifically, her family is like they're like white trash or whatever in the area and but like one of the older characters is like your family wasn't always like that, whatever their name is like known for like being troublemakers, like but that name used to be like respected, like yeah, so it's
Hmm.
interesting, and then some people actually might work out the family trauma, but maybe
So
not in her case, so no.
Kathleen says it's a negative of your shadow. I'm like, perhaps.
Oh, thank you, Kathleen, for your insight. I'm so glad you're here.
She did ask another question before I
Oh,
saw. She said, why does it have to get to that point though? And I think she was talking about like a dark night of the soul, so she can confirm that. But if you want to answer that
Oh
question.
yeah. Oh well, I don't. So the way we looked at it, and we talked about this on our show, Kathleen. I'm glad you asked that.
It's
It's
been
just
2 hours that we've been on, by the way, but just
oh yeah.
2:37 because we started at 1:37 Arizona time. Sorry, it's 3:27. Um,
Oh
and
yeah. I
it's
thought that was
episode
it too.
137. I was like, that's crazy. We start at 137 on episode 137.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you said that's why I got going. I'm like, we got to start. I think the reason we came to that conclusion is because we've talked about how we try to change people's minds with talking and stuff. Like we always use funny things like the JFK assassination. Well, not funny, so hilarious. His brains got blown out. I mean, like we use older examples because people aren't as attached to them. So with the JFK thing, so say you're sitting around like your Thanksgiving table and the family's arguing about who killed JFK or whatever. We're always like, people try to show evidence and proof and look at all this stuff, and you just try to argue and stuff. And it's the same thing kind of with spirituality, right? You could tell people about their behaviors and stuff and like how it's hurting them and how, they're the source of all their own problems. It's like, hey, listen, you're causing all your own problems, dummy. But if you say that to them, they're just going to get mad at you. Obviously, most times they're just going to take it personally. They're going to think that you don't accept them for who they are. They're going to revert back to all the times they weren't accepted and abandoned in their life, and they're going to have that same reaction and feeling a lot of times, right? So it's like and then they revert to a coping mechanism, whatever that is. So we're thinking that instead of trying to talk to them, there's really nothing you could do really other than be an example and accept them. Because if you accept them for who they are, then because if someone's telling you something, right, they're telling you a story like I got abducted by UFOs, right, and you're like, this guy's full of fucking shit. They can tell your body language. There's all this stuff where they're not accepting, or they're realizing that you're not accepting what you're saying. So this, by the same token, if somebody is talking to you about whatever it is or displaying behavior, and you have this negative reaction, you don't like their behavior, they're going to notice that. But if you could try to find it in your heart to empathize with them and accept that behavior and just be chill with it, just be like, we're fucking partying, right? Like, all right, this is fucking cool, or whatever it is, whatever you have to do in your own mind. And I'm not saying this is easy by any means to do, especially if it's somebody you love, because there's feelings attached. But if you could take that spiritual view that we talk about, where the world is perfect and this person is just in a dance doing this thing till they're done, right? So you're trying to empathize. As you do this and you accept them, they're going to notice that. And then they're going to be like, wow, this person is accepting me. And so they're not used to having that feeling. It's going to just hit them a different way. So I feel like that's really the only thing you can do. And then when we talk about like this near death experience or a rock bottom, it's because when that happens, people's perspective can shift. I mean, sometimes other things can do it, like when you're young, if the person is young, like when I was young and then I went to the Marine Corps at 18, I got to fly all over the world. And I was like, whoa, Milford, Connecticut isn't the center of the world. Oh my God, like things are bigger. So that's another way to shift your perspective. But when people almost die, they have like their life flash in front of their eyes and they're like, why have I been working in this shitty job? Like, I want to be a stripper, god damn it. I'm going to go out there and do it. I want to be a singer or whatever it is. And I'm going to go out and sing. And they're like, you know what? I'm going to die, because most people feel invincible unless they have somebody close to them die or they almost die. They have this feeling of invincibility. So once you shed that totally, or somebody sheds it and they come close to dying themselves, it really could change, and it doesn't happen for everybody, but it could really change their perspective. And that's really what I think. You just have to shift they have to have their perspective shifts. And there's really nothing you could do about it other than accept them. So I would say, if you have somebody in your life, us elves, we don't like to give advice, but I can tell you a few things. We've learned throughout the years to never give advice, but I could say that, could it be, if you have somebody in your life and you don't see eye to eye on something or whatever, if you just, when they're talking about it or whatever it is, you just accept that belief, tell them, you're right. I could see how you're right. I could see this or whatever it is. see what happens. And could it be that it's going to open it up and make it better, make them more receptive to your point of view? And I've had it where people start to ask me now, they're like, well, then what do you think? And what do you believe? You know, and it's like, okay. And now you could talk about it. They're opening up, right? And then also try not to make claims. Be like, this is what I feel. And I feel all these things subconsciously on a subconscious level help people to open up. Cause I'm always like, well, I don't know, people are like, well, what do you think happens after you die? I'm like, well, first of all, I don't know. But I think based on what I've heard and read and seen and all this stuff, this is what it could be, as opposed to after you die, you're going to go to a place until Judgment Day, and then you're going to be cast in a lake of fire, or you're going to walk in heaven where the streets are paved with gold. It's like, are you
Maybe
sure?
that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Are you living in
I'll let
hell or
Sharon
heaven
talk
right
now.
now?
I'm
Or
going to let
somewhere
you go
between?
ahead. Well,
I said, are you living in hell or heaven right now, or somewhere in between?
yeah. I think it changes on a moment by moment basis for most people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right now I'm in heaven though because I'm laughing. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything you could? Did I forget anything, Sharon, in that whole spiel? That kind of sums up our.
I think so. That
Yeah.
sums it up, I think.
But yeah, that's where we're coming from when we talk about like a near death experience. But we don't know. This is just what we think works because the other things we tried clearly don't work. What do you mean you think we went to the moon or we didn't go to the moon or whatever? Yeah, it's just like I try to talk about what I have in common now with people. It's so much better, you know.
Yep.
Anyway, all right. So, I mean, we've been going for 2 hours. I guess we
Yeah.
could wrap it up unless you want to.
I think that's all I had. There's definitely stuff I mean, we can go on for a long time about all kind of stuff, but I think that that's a good place to call it a day.
If you mean you mean to believe the moon is real, that's great. You guys are hilarious. MS, thank you. He says, Sharon, Brandon, thank you for doing this, for being here, and for being yourselves. I appreciate you both. Thank you. We appreciate you for being here. And
Grazie. Grazie
we're just
mille.
we're just happy to be able to speak into cameras and microphones to other people who kind of get what we're talking about too. And they're not just like, you guys are crazy. This is boring. That's something we haven't talked about in a while, our superpower of how we kind of don't
Bore
get
people
ridiculed.
to death who don't really see our way of.
Yeah, because that's when you don't make claims and you're silly and you take this approach that we do, not serious. People mostly that aren't into it, they just get bored and turn it off instead of, getting antagonized and pissed off and wanting to like destroy you or whatever. So works out.
Ooh.
It's our superpower. We're just silly and funny. And
We just chit chat. It all started. And by the way, Happy New Year, everyone. Because I don't
oh
think
yeah, happy
we
new
say that.
year.
It's the first episode of the year. It's the second day of the year. Of the what is this calendar? Roman or what do we call this calendar?
Gregorian.
Gregorian. It's one of
Gregor.
those. I don't even freaking know. I knew
Oh,
that.
Gregor.
Thank you, Brandon, for reminding me. Thank you for joining us for the second day of the Gregorian calendar in which we live today, and for our first episode of the year of the Gregorian year. What was I going to say? Oh, Feliz Año Nuevo. Thank you, Kathleen.
Oh,
Um,
feliz año nuevo.
yeah, that's right.
Well, I would have to say Happy New Year to everybody. Hang on, I just woke up. Let me fix my. Oh, all right. I gotta get. How's my eyebrows? Are they good? All right.
Oh God.
You
All
know, I
right, Zeke.
I
It's
find it
great to
easy to
see you,
speak
buddy.
truth when I look like this because my eyes are so close together. People don't take me so seriously. Anyway, I got.
Oh, that's funny.
It's
He's
weird because I'm not in air mode, so I'm like, going, okay, there we go.
he's a great puppet. I like it.
Oh, we're gonna get taken off the air, YouTube. Just kidding. That's karaoke. I don't think you could sing the Muppet theme.
Hey Zeke,
Yeah.
can you get our dear friend Rodney Norman on the show, please?
Yeah, we'll get him on the show. Let's do it. I saw he
Yeah.
put it on a list somewhere. Hopefully he doesn't lose it. There we go. Right.
I don't know him personally,
No.
so I'm just saying
Love
our
it.
friend
Love it.
because he's a friend. Maybe one day I'll meet him.
All right, everybody. I think that's enough of that.
Looks like Dr. Phil's brother. That's hilarious.
How dare you? Oh, hang on.
Oh.
Do I still look like Dr. Phil's brother? All right. All right. All right. I gotta go to bed. Oh no, they saw the hand.
Is
It's
it
all
dinner time?
it's all fake. Yeah, it's totally dinner time. I can hear the dinner sounds going on in
You
the
can
other
hear
room.
the oven going.
Yeah. Ah,
Oof.
my little. All right.
Well, I've had a lovely time chatting, and I'm glad I didn't finish what I was saying it all started, in 2021 August, um, that we were just gonna be chit-chatting about the things that we like to talk about, which was, life, the universe, and everything, just like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So if anyone vibes with that, we would put it out on the YouTubes and see if anybody liked listening. And here we are. What, 4.5 years later? No, 3.5 years later.
Yeah, almost 3.5 years.
Three and a
Yeah.
half.
Here we are. We have some people that have been here from the beginning. So thank you guys so much. And we have people we picked up along the way. Thank you guys too. So yeah, I'm very grateful. And I could say that I guess for 2024, I'm grateful. We had such a fun time and the people we had on and the DAO episodes and all the stuff. So it really is our it's what keeps us sane, the show. It's our
Mm,
positive outlet, so we don't have to argue with strangers on the street about belief systems. We could just talk about it here and say, "Hey, check out my show."
indeed. We didn't even talk about New Year's resolutions. See?
Yeah, we're just perfect. So got to figure that out, and then we'll do what we need to do,
Yeah, exactly.
like we
We're
said
all
earlier.
ready. We're just going with the flow.
We are
And
flowing
if
with.
if you need to have a New Year's resolution, let it be that you go with the flow. How about that?
Yeah, perfect. I love it. All right. Well, I think it's time to get out of here. So, what do we say to the good people, Sharon?
That once you start over, Sharon.
Then you totally stop being a Karen.
That's right.
And remember, everybody, we're not trying to tell you how to live.
We're just giving you tips on how to go with the flow so you don't have to make New Year's resolutions.
That's right.
How about that?
Yeah, just go with the flow and then you don't have to worry about it. All right, everybody. We'll see you later. See you next week. Have a good one.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.